What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here. I saw a video by Bob Worldbuilder where he was talking about this Cairn RPG, which is free. And yeah, I tried it out. I printed it out for free. This is just regular printer paper, and I played it with my boys, and it was a big hit. And it was a really fun system. And I tried playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and I tried playing Pathfinder 2nd edition, and it felt like half the times we'd be in a session, I would have my nose in the rule book trying to figure out if, something was feasible or not, and that was mostly just because of my inexperience as a DM and my unfamiliarity with the rules. I had watched a lot of Critical Role and stuff like that, but I had never played much, so that was a big fault on my part. But Cairn is really easy. The whole booklet is like, what, 14 pages? It's 18 pages. Yeah, there's only like one set of rules, really, like one sheet of rules. So let's take a look at that. So here we go. We have the rules for Cairn, and this is like a one-page thing. Like, that's all it is. Like, these are the core rules. This is really, like, all you need. What's cool is, like, on the character sheet, it gives you, like, a really condensed summary. So, like, on the little character sheets that I printed out, on the back, it has the summary of the rules. And that was extremely helpful. But even rolling a randomized character was super fun. So I think it would be kind of cool if we go back up here to character creation, and if we just make a quick character here, I think it would be super fun. So it says, first, choose or roll your player character's name and background from their respective tables on page 5. So you can see we have name and background. So we've got names for both male and female. These are just ones that you can use. You can, of course, name your character whatever you like. So I'm just going to randomize. I'm just going to pick a first name. So I'm going to roll a d20. I got 2. So I am Bevan, or Bevan. And yeah, so let's see. So what's my background now? So let's roll a background. That is a 10. So my background is a hunter. There we go. So I just threw a character sheet into Paint, and I'm filling it out as we go. So I've got Bevan here. Oops, get rid of that. And I got my background as hunter. I just put that in notes. There we go. So we made our background. Next, we got to roll for the rest of our character's traits: appearance, speech, mannerisms, belief, and reputation. So everything on page 6, basically. So we go to page 6. You can see we got a bunch of character traits here, and we roll a d10 for these. So let's see, where's my d10? So for physique, we are a brawny. We have a brawny physique. For skin, 8. I have tan skin. For hair, I have rolled a 7, so I have luxurious hair. Now for my face, I rolled a 5, so I have a pale face. For my speech, let's see, I have a squeaky voice. So I'm brawny, but I have a squeaky voice. So that's pretty fun. Now, if we do clothing, I rolled a 6. Yeah, 6. So I have frayed clothing. And for my virtue, let me see here, we roll. I rolled a 1, so I am ambitious. For my vice, I rolled a 3. I am craven. So I'm brawny, squeaky voice, and I'm a craven, but I have luxurious hair. For my reputation, I rolled a 2. So I am a boor. I'm boorish. I'm like a braggart. Okay. And then finally, for misfortunes, I rolled an 8. I am discredited. So not only am I a brawny, squeaky voice craven who is a bit of a bore who brags and exaggerates thing, I've also been discredited, so nobody believes me. So that's fun. So there we go. So we rolled our character traits. So now if we go back up, we can roll for age. So 2d20. Roll that. So I got a 2 and a 5. So that's 7 plus 10. So I'm a 17-year-old boar. Okay. So now we need to roll our ability scores. So we only have 3 attributes here: strength, dexterity, and willpower. So that's super cool. So we roll 3d6 for that. So let me get that. All right, here we go. 3d6. So I got a 2, a 3, and a 1. So I have a 6. So my strength is going to be 6. That is awful. So next I'm going to roll my next one, which is dexterity. Ooh, even worse. I got a 1, 1, and a 2. So I have a dexterity of 4. And then for my last one, willpower. Okay, that's better. Let's see. I got a 3, 6, and a 9 and a 5, so that's 14. So now, if I was actually, rolling this character for serious, I would probably re-roll at least one of these. Like, especially strength is super low. But I'm going to keep it because it was just random. We're just making random characters right now. So next we roll our hit protection. Now this is not hit points, this is hit protection. This is very cool how this works in this system. I like it a lot. I think it's more realistic. It makes things a lot more dangerous. So we roll 1d6 to determine starting hit protection. So let me roll. We got 3. There we go. So hit protection is 3. So now we get to... let's see, we did hit protection. So let's take a look at inventory. So characters have a total of 10 inventory slots. They have a backpack with 6 slots, 1 slot for each hand, and then 2 slots for their upper body, such as belt, chest, or head. The backpack can also double as an emergency sleeping bag, but only if it's emptied of its contents. So most items only take up 1 slot in your inventory. Some items can be bundled together if they say they stack. And then some items are bulky, which means they take up 2 slots. So a player cannot carry more items than their inventory allows. So you can get something like a cart or a mule that will increase your amount carried. But they like if you have a cart, you're pulling it with like both hands. That kind of might leave you at a disadvantage. You can also have hirelings who carry equipment for you. So for your starting gear, so all player characters begin with 3 days rations, which is 1 slot, a torch, and 3d6 gold pieces. So let me roll for gold. There we go. So I start a 2, a 1, and a 5. So I start with 8 gold. Okay, so now it says roll once on each of the starting gear tables to determine your player character's armor, weapons, tools, and equipment. Now this is where it was really fun for me. So we scroll down here to our starting gear. So for our armor, we roll a d20. So let me roll that. I got a 2, which means I don't start with any armor, which is definitely a problem because I am so weak. So helmets and shields. I rolled an 18. So I start with a shield. And then we get to roll for weapons. So let me roll. I got an 11. So I get a sword, mace, or an axe. I'm just going to pick a sword. Like, it's super basic. So then we get to roll on Expeditionary Gear. So I get to roll another d20. And I rolled a 15. So I get repellent. That's interesting. So now I get to roll tools. 17. I get a saw. Just packing around a saw. Okay. So now I get to roll for trinkets. And I got a 13. So I got quill and ink. And then, so I finally get to roll a bonus item. So I rolled an 8, which means I get to roll another Expeditionary Gear. So let me roll again. Roll a 12. And I got a pick. So there we go. So we rolled our starting gear. Now we can see the equipment list on page 9 for related armor, damage, and slot values. So let's go look at that. So we got spell books, equipment list. So we can see shield is going to add 1 armor. And I didn't have any other armor. So I have 1 armor. And then also, if you didn't want to do this at all if you wanted to use like optional gear packages. They have like pre-made sets here that you can use. So if you want to be a knight, you can start out with a longsword, chainmail, helmet, a cape, some manacles, and fine rope. You can pick what you want there. So I just did it randomized because it was like really interesting and fun, and I really liked it. So let's go back and look up at let's see. Okay, so we basically rolled our character. So this is my character, Bevan here, or Bevan. I think Bevan sounds more fun. I've got 8 gold to my name. I'm pretty weak, even though I am brawny. I'm pretty weak. I'm also like not very dexterous, but I have pretty high willpower. I've only got 1 armor, 3 hit protection, and these are the things I have in my inventory. So what's cool about this system is that this is like super simple. So you see here in my notes, I have all this stuff noted. They don't really have like page numbers or descriptions or stuff like that for anything. And it's really up to your warden, which is your GM, your game master, what they do. So what was really cool is like my son rolled a character that was like really short, and we were fighting somebody. He swung at him, and it was like kind of like a backhand blind swing. And he's like, "Wait, I'm short. Does that mean like it might have a chance to miss?" I'm like, "Sure, go ahead and make a dexterity save." And he ended up saving and ended up missing because he was short, because he saw that, you know, hey, I have this this trait that I rolled. Make it mean something, right? And that was really cool. Combat in this game is like super simple, so whenever you attack, it always hits. So for example, my sword, if I go look at the equipment here, so my sword does a d8 damage. So when I roll to attack, I don't have to roll a d20 and then add like a hit modifier or strength or whatever. I just have to roll a d8. That's it. So say, for example, if somebody was swinging at me and they rolled a 1d4, so say, for example, if they were trying to punch me in the face, all unarmed attacks are 1d4. So if I roll a 1d4, I rolled a 2. So what this would do is that my armor would negate 1 point of that damage, and then my hit protection would go down by the remainder. So I would take 1 damage to my hit protection. If my hit protection reaches exactly 0, then that means that I get a scar, which can have pretty cool effects. If it goes down below that, then I think I have to roll to see if I take critical damage to my strength. And if all my hit protection is gone and my strength goes to 0, that's when you die. So I think that that's like more realistic, you know, because most people can't like fight forever. Like combat is very quick and very brutal, and you know, you might last only a few seconds, and you know, as you take damage, you start kind of getting weaker, and you know, you start moving slower, you can't hit as hard. I think that stuff is really cool. So I like that aspect of it, and it was really, really fun when I played it with my boys, and it was so cool. And on top of that, like, there's not all these different rules that kind of like, not everything is plotted out for you. So it's really up to the warden to make a ruling on it. And so it just means that the gameplay goes a lot quicker, and it's like, if something makes sense, just go with it. So for example, like my youngest he was a short guy who his starting equipment included like a drill, like a hand drill. And then my oldest, he was this athletic guy, and he had a chisel. And we were fighting these like rock cobble hounds or whatever. And he's like, "Wait, these guys are stone, right? Can I use my chisel?" Yeah, you know what? And then part of the rules was that we could make that a enhanced attack, which bumps it up to a D12. So I was like, that's super effective. So I had him roll a D12, and he obliterated him with a chisel. I'm like, that, you know what? That was cool. That made sense. It was super fun. So yeah, so it's really fun to just roll up a character. Now this guy, I probably wouldn't want to play him. honestly, if you want to prevent kind of stuff like this, you can use like the Dungeons and Dragons kind of rule where you roll 4 and then drop the lowest. You know, so if I want to roll like 4d6, there you go, 6, 5, 6. So that's a 17. So I'll take that, but it helps prevent like that case where I got 4 for my dexterity. Like that was not fun. But part of this stuff might make gameplay challenging, but it's really cool to see what you can do with the tools that you're given, because all of this stuff matters. So for example, like if I'm trying to, you know, if a bad guy tries to run away and we lose sight of him, because my background is a hunter, I can probably try to track him to see where he goes. You know, maybe if someone's standing in my path and I want to try to intimidate them, because I'm brawny, I can probably try to, like, you know, just glare at them and maybe try to intimidate them, as long as I don't talk, because I have a squeaky voice that might ruin it. Or secretly I'm craven, so if they push back at all, I might just quickly back down and then maybe try to run away or something. So all this stuff comes into place. It comes into play. So, you know, people might notice my frayed clothing and look down on me, or you know, I might brag about something I didn't do, and somebody, because I'm discredited, say, well, weren't you that guy that was talking smack that everybody proved wrong? Because I'm ambitious, I might want to take more things than take on more things than I probably can, and people might be jealous of my luxurious hair, so maybe I might do pretty well with the fairer sex, you know. I have tan skin, maybe the ladies love it. You never know. So I have all these cool things, like maybe I come across like a tree in the road or something like that, and or something blocking my path. I might be able to use my saw to just get rid of it, or if I'm attacked by a bear, I can spray repellent at it or something. I don't know. Like, pop open a flask and dump it everywhere. I don't know. But yeah, so all this stuff is super cool. It's a very simple system, and the rules, they're not that complicated. So you see here, like this one page of rules, this is the rules. So you have abilities. You got brawn, you got strength, which is like, you know, strength, brawn, prowess, resistance. You got dexterity, dodging, sneaking, reflexes. You got willpower, persuasion, intimidation, and also magic. You got saves. So because they use a roll under system, you don't have to do a bunch of math. So if I was told to make a willpower save, I would roll a d20, and I rolled a 5, which is underneath willpower. Needs to meet or be below willpower to succeed. So I succeeded. The cool thing about this system is that I don't think it depends so much on checks to do various things. So it's like, oh, if I want to try to, you know, lift a log out of the way, right? If I'm a naturally strong character, I don't have to roll for it, because my character is pretty weak. You know, I might have this brawny trait here, but my strength is pretty low. I might have to make a strength check. So if I make a hey, I rolled a 1, which means I succeed. I have to roll a strength save. But I don't necessarily have to do that. I don't have to have my players do that. Like I don't have to make them make a check for every little thing, which some people might like, some people might not like. For me, it felt like it kept the gameplay going, not having to constantly have them roll and then add up some figure and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, what's your willpower? Oh yeah, 15. Okay, yeah, you notice like there's something happening off to your left. Like, what do? You know, I don't have to have them roll a perception check. And on top of that, when it came to like combat and stuff like that, you know, if they got the jump on something, I didn't have to like roll initiative or nothing like that. It was just like, hey, it's your guys' turn. Like, what are you guys doing? So they were able to like collaborate and coordinate stuff on their turn because the rules are a lot more lax. It doesn't have to be as defined. Like, it's not like Pathfinder where you've got 3 actions, but literally everything is an action. It's an action to like stow my weapon. It's an action to pull out something, and then it's an action to do it, and then oh wait, that's all my actions. With this, it's like, yeah, hey, you know, we're fighting rockhounds. Can I switch to my chisel and like attack them? Like, yeah, do it. Awesome. Get them. So, and you can move up to 40 feet. So what was cool about this is when we played it, I didn't even have to use a battle map or anything. It was just all theater of the mind, and it was awesome. And we had a blast with this. It was just so much fun. And the mechanics are just they're so simple. And you know, if you need clarity on something, like especially with like spells, you know, it's like, oh, one of the random encounters that my sons had was they encountered some old guy who was like had a hood up, kind of walking on the road, and they ended up antagonizing him. And turned out to be the dude was a wizard. Pulled out a spell book, and then when I rolled for the random spell that the spell book had, it was teleport. So he ended up like attacking them with it, doing like 1d4 damage, and it turned out it took out my youngest with just beating him with a book. And then he teleported away. So you know, it doesn't really give much detail on, you know, it's not like Dungeons and Dragons where it's like everything is, oh, this is a verbal, somatic, and, you know, material component spell, and you know, you have to do this. Whenever you cast a spell here, you just have, if you have the spell book, it takes up 1 item slot, but you have to be holding it in both hands to use it. So it technically takes up 2 slots while you're using it. And then any time that you cast a spell, it adds a fatigue, which just takes up which just occupies one of your inventory slots until you can rest. And you know, it's if your inventory fills up, you don't have any hit protection because you're over encumbered. You can't move, you can't dodge, you can't try to roll with a attack. If your armor can't block it, you're taking that damage for real. So you're incentivized to like keep your inventory manageable, which is great because it means you want to have every little thing count. And because you're so worried about your inventory, you're constantly looking at it to see like what stuff you have. And then it was so quick to like, oh yeah, I have a chisel, can I do this? Or I have a drill, or hey, I'm trying to look, I have a lens, can I like look at it and see? Oh, sure, why not? So super cool stuff there. And the combat was just really smooth. You know, the healing, like you take a moment's rest and a swig of water will restore lost hit point or hit protection, but it may leave the party vulnerable, so maybe people take shifts or whatnot. If you've got ability loss, that's a lot more difficult. So yeah, so you'll actually have to get some real rest for that, and the aid of a skilled healer. It's just really fun. I just love the way it is. It's so simple. There's no classes. The classes are just really determined by what equipment you have. There's no levels, so you're not worried about tracking experience and stuff like that. And you see here it says GP, SP, and CP, so you got gold, silver, and copper. Most people only worry about gold. They don't even track silver and copper, so that simplifies it even more. You're just worried about gold. Only one currency, one number. You don't have to do a bunch of weird conversions. Stonks, you know, it's way easier. So that is just this system like just eliminates a lot of the obstacles to where you can play. And since there's no leveling or experience, how your character gets stronger is you get scars. So whenever your hit protection goes to exactly 0, so say if I were to take 4 damage right now because I have 1 armor, that would negate 1 point of damage and leave 3 remaining. And if I took 3 points of damage, my hit protection will be wiped out to exactly 0. I would get a scar. And when you get a scar, you get to roll on the scars table. So let's go down to scars here. Here we go, scars. So if you roll a 1d12, come on, that's cocked. I rolled an 8, so I get deafened. So I cannot hear anything until I find extraordinary aid. Regardless, make a will save. If you pass, increase your max will by 1d4. Wow, okay, so if I make a will save, so if I roll a d20, I got a 7. Well, guess what? If we go back to my character sheet, my willpower is 15. So because it's a roll under system, that succeeds. So I get to roll 1d4. And I rolled a 3. So now my willpower is now 18. That is insane. But on top of that, I can't hear anything until I find like an actual healer to like help me out. So now that I'm deafened, I can't really hear anything, but once I get that done, I still have that scar, which has already increased my willpower by 1d4. So that's cool. So all these scars allow you, they have some negative effect, but then once you get it treated, you come back stronger. It's like real life, you know, your scars kind of define you and make you stronger. And this is how your character gets stronger, by getting scars. It's really fun. I love the way that they did this. This was fantastic. Really, really fun. But there you go. That's a look at Cairn. It was invented by a guy named Yohai Gal. I hope I pronounced that right. I probably didn't, so I apologize. And I watched a few interviews that he did, and like a few podcasts and things like that. And you could tell the guy really cares, and it's awesome. And the fact that this game is just, it's so quick to just get into, it's so fun, and you know, the fact that I was able to have some kids play it, that was dope. So, and it's super fun. It's just, it's so simple, but it's complex in the way that it's got all this stuff, and I love it. And I'm a big fan, and I'm probably going to play this a lot more than Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, to be perfectly honest, because it's just, it's a lot less work for me as a DM, GM, warden, whatever you want to call it. I don't have to necessarily prepare like as much content, and the content that I do prepare is much quicker to prepare. And then on top of that, it's much easier to just dive into it, and for the gameplay to flow. So if they want to role play and stuff like that, it's much quicker and more fluid, because it's like, oh, if you're, you know, maybe if you're talking to somebody and they don't like your frayed clothing, you know, they've heard about your discredited boasts that you did, but you know, maybe they like your luxurious hair, and you know what, you're only 17, you know, I'm gonna give you another chance, kid. So all this stuff is kind of determined like by your attributes, or your randomized, not randomized, but your traits, your characteristics, rather than just a dice roll. Now, if you're at like a disadvantage, you can still do like a strength, dex, or willpower save. At least I do anyway. So, you know, for example, if I'm trying to like convince somebody that I'm not a craven, well, because I am a craven and I have a squeaky voice, that's kind of like puts me at a disadvantage. So maybe I have to make a willpower save to convince them. Well, I rolled a 2. So I was able to convince the person that like, I'm being serious. Like, I'm not a coward, right? That's just like one example of things that you can do. And it just makes it really interesting and fun. And I love the simplicity of it. And because it's so simple, it seems to open up so much for me. But that's just my experience with it. I encourage you guys to try it out. Again, if you just go to cairnrpg.com. Now, I've got this in dark mode because I use Opera as a browser, so it's just normal light mode, which I think is gross, but I like dark mode. But if you just go here, it's got all the stuff. It's got the system reference document, which is licensed under Creative Commons 4.0. So if you want to like fork these rules and make your own game out of it, you can. It doesn't cost anything either. So he has all the game files here on a Google Drive. So you can see you've got the whole booklet that is printed out correctly. You've got just the straight rules if you just want to print them out that way. It's even got an ebook document, it looks like here. And you've got alternative character sheets. So for example, you got like a very simplistic character sheet here. I mean, you can't get much more simple than this. Character portrait, name, your 3 attributes, your hit protection, your armor, your notes, your backpack slots. That's it. That's all you got to keep track of. It's amazing. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And try out Cairn. Let me know what you guys think.